Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and those of you who have followed my channel for a long time know I like to be thorough and make as many different videos on as many different sites as I possibly can, as well as giving my opinion on some of the biggest mysteries of all time. But my Ancient America series, it's one I'm pretty proud of, about 120 videos total I think on that one. But today we're going to add one to that series, and we're going to go down to Louisiana on the campus of LSU. And this here is Tiger Stadium, and they have been watching some pretty good football at that stadium, some championship seasons. But me being from Minnesota, I wouldn't know anything about championship college football season. It was the only team I have cheered for in college ranks is the Minnesota Gophers, and they have not won a title in my lifetime, so that is a subject for another day, I guess. But we're going to go down here about a block north of the stadium. And here are two mounds. These are known as Mound A and Mound B. And these are a pretty central part of the campus. People are well familiar with these. And there was a story put out, I don't know how long ago, but it kind of became campus lore that these mounds were the result of a pool being constructed. This is where they dumped the dirt. And that kind of fits with some other ancient sites. There has been some crazy stories that they are just fill, but here, native mounds that have always been here. Now this is 64parishes.org, and I will leave the link below. It says, located on the grounds of Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, the LSU Campus Mounds are two Native American earthworks from the Middle Archaic period, and that is roughly from 4000 to 2000 BC. They have long been recognized as unusual campus landmarks, and recent studies suggest that when the twin mounds were constructed, the channel of the Mississippi River was located farther to the east than its current position, meaning the mounds would have likely been visible to anyone traveling on the river. The site consists of two conical mounds designated as Mound A and Mound B, and these are up to 130 feet in diameter. And here you can see, again, by a look at them, that these are not small, but they're not large by any means. But they are very important, I guess, if you look at the total history of the area and what these probably originally meant. It says the first reference to the LSU Campus Mounds comes from an anonymous 1851 article in DeBow's Review, which briefly noted the presence of Indian mounds on the McCatton plantation south of Baton Rouge. This property became part of the LSU campus when the university moved to its present location in the 1920s. Campus lore later held that the mounds were remains of dirt excavated from a pool constructed by Governor Huey P. Long. So that was kind of the story here. The mounds were actually just dirt removed from a construction project of a pool. But that 1851 article clearly notes the presence of these in 1851, and they have been here for thousands of years. Pioneering Louisiana archaeologist George E. Beyer, a professor at Tulane University, likely undertook the first professional archaeological investigation of the LSU campus mounds. It says it was not until 1982 that professional archaeologists again returned to the LSU campus mounds. Several soil cores were extracted from both mounds in an effort to determine when and how they were built. In addition, samples from carbon-rich sediments from Mound A were subjected to radiocarbon analysis. In 1985, after an LSU student was killed in a car accident on Mound A, limited archaeological testing was undertaken in the rutted area. Test excavations in the form of test units, shovel test pits, and auger holes were undertaken in areas that were to be distributed by the construction of retaining walls and other modifications designed to prevent future accidents on the mound. In 1999, the LSU campus mounds were placed on the National Register of Historical Places. In 2009, LSU archaeologists and geoarchaeologists conducted remote sensing surveys on the mounds and extracted several cores to further study the age and internal structure of the mounds. Radiocarbon analysis performed on carbon samples in cores extracted from Mound A in 1982 and 2009 strongly suggests that the mounds date to the Middle Archaic period between 4000 and 2000 BC. It says there is no evidence to suggest that burials exist in either of the LSU campus mounds. and it says, according to LSU archaeologist Dr. Rebecca Saunders, current thinking holds that the LSU Campus Mounds served as ceremonial sites and axis mundi, literally world axis, or the center of the world, for the society that built the mounds. In this scenario, different bands, comprised of 20 to 50 people, who generally occupied isolated base camps through most of the year, might come together at the mounds for rituals, to exchange information, to dance and feast, and to find mates. That is the theory. And as far as no burials being in these mounds, well, that is kind of an assumption, because you really don't know until you really get down under and in and around the mound. I have made some videos about mound sites down in the lower Mississippi Valley, and Graham Hancock talks about it in his book in the chapter The Poverty Point Time Machine, and it just kind of reminded me how many ancient sites there are down here between the southern border of Arkansas and Louisiana, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. And he maps them out in America before, and he talks about Watson Break and the age of some of these mounds, including the Jackson Mound, just south of Poverty Point, that appears to be 6,000 years old. And I'm not sure if we have the exact dating of Poverty Point correct, but it says here, the Banana Bayou Mounds and the so-called L.S.U. Mounds of Louisiana State University date to around 2700 BC, which in the global context makes them about 200 years older than the Great Pyramids of Giza, according to the standard model of history. But I really enjoyed Graham Hancock's chapter on these sites down in Louisiana, and there are many of them, and I'll try to leave a few links below to a few of the sites I have made videos on. But it seemed this riverway in the very southern United States was just full of ancient sites, and only today we are recognizing exactly how many there are and what they entailed. And here is one map noting all the mound sites in Louisiana. But back to this article just for a second here. It says, today the LSU Campus Mounds continue to serve as a gathering place of sorts. During the school year, small groups of students can be seen studying and relaxing on the mounds. They are also a local attraction for younger children who like to play on them. While these activities are not likely causing any immediate damage, there is concern over the long-term preservation of the mounds. On September 30th, 2010, LSU announced a Save the Mounds campaign. Officials from the school stated that the mounds had suffered internal structural damage that would lead to their eventual collapse. The mounds had been used for tailgate parties for many, many years, and in 2010 they were fenced off during LSU's home football games to prevent any further damage. And I guess there were some protests of these things actually being fenced off so people could not party on them during game days. I'd love to hear from some people down there. What is going on today with these mounds? Are they cordoned off? Are you allowed to go on them and party before football games? These are just things I want to know. Now, in my Ancient America series, we have learned how these ancient sacred sites were treated by different cities and communities and areas. And it's really, all these stories are unique to themselves. But here at LSU, there seems to be some preservation of these right in the middle of campus, and some people recognize what these are. Very sacred structures from maybe 5,500 years ago. The dating is kind of unsure, and there's a window there. But obviously super important ancient structures, and there's people trying to preserve these, so that's good. Decades of people walking over these, just studying on them, partying before game days. Well, the toll has been taken on these mounds. Originally they were much taller, probably much more grand, and this is the deteriorated result, what we have today. Well, that is my video on what is known as the LSU Mounds today, and a 4,700-year-old site certainly deserves a video on my Ancient America series. I'd love to hear from some Tiger fans down here who are familiar with these and what's going on with these today. And I'm wondering what they teach here at LSU about this history that is just staring us in the face from all these ancient sites down here. And I'll try to leave some links below. But today, maybe 80,000 people will gather here in the fall to watch the college football stars of today. I wish a few of them would just take a few moments to recognize an ancient culture that was in this exact same spot maybe 5,000 years ago that was observing another type of stars. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Hope you thought this was interesting. You all have a very nice day.